Good morning, everyone. My name is Chaitanya. I'm a business strategy consultant and I help the small and medium industries go from six-figure revenues to seven-figure revenues. Today, we are embarking on a new series of import-export advisory conversations. And we have with us Meenal, a colleague of mine from Deloitte and a good friend. Today, we are going to cover a little on the MOOWR scheme, and Meenal will help us understand the ins and outs of working with MOOWR. Meenal, good morning.
Good morning, a very good morning,
So,
and a warm welcome for the today's and our first show. So, let me introduce myself first. I am a chartered accountant by profession. Have been into this field since almost close to 13 years, and I was working in past in Deloitte and Big Fours. The idea seeded of starting our own consulting firm was there was a lot of gap in terms of the export incentives, the benefits, which the small, medium, large organizations were not able to claim or were not aware. And then we thought that how can we bridge that gap and bring the best in value for the organizations.
excellent. Awesome. So, to start with, can you give me an interview of MOOWR and what prompted the government of India to look at MOOWR as a new scheme that needs to be introduced?
Huh. Very right question. Actually, so the concept of bonded warehouse is already into existence in the customs since the year 1966. However, in the year 2019, this facility was extended to manufacturers as well. So earlier it was only used for the storage of goods and the removal of goods like public and private bonded warehouses. So what used to happen in the past was when there was any import done from outside India, if the goods are stored in any private or public bonded warehouses, till that point of time you are not supposed to pay the duties and taxes applicable on the imports. Now, government has extended this facility to the manufacturers as well. And how it goes about is the premises where you want to set up this new manufacturing unit, you get it registered under the MOOWR, which is under Section 65 read with Section 58 of the Customs Act 1962. So there is a combined application there under, and the process is not so cumbersome. But so you had asked that why government has brought into this scheme. So first and the most important agenda of the government is to boost manufacturing in India, to make in India and to make for the world. Not just for the outside India, but even for Indian market. So make in India, make for the world was the prime motive of the government to bring about this manufacturing initiative. And I think it's a very, very, very good initiative because this eases lot of complexities in terms of duty payments, lot of savings on the taxes side, and the procedural complexities has also been reduced to a greater extent.
Brilliant, brilliant. So, now, how does one get started with the mover scheme? So you have traditionally been in import-export business, and you have been doing what has been told to you. Now, how does it? How does one importer or exporter shift gears to go into mover scheme?
So the first point of thought process ideally should be you first put your own projections and the numbers as to what you are trying to achieve in your businesses. So if you have a lot of capital goods to be imported, say for example 10 crores worth of import, I'll share an example which will make things much more clear. So there's one of our client and how we got started with the client. I think that will throw more light on the practical aspects as well. So we were into discussion with this client, and this client was planning to set up a new manufacturing unit. They were already into this business since more than 100 years. However, they thought of diversifying or getting into the new product. So this client imported the spray drying unit, wanted to import spray drying unit, and this discussion happened 3 to 4 months prior to when they were going to import these capital goods. So they were thinking that, okay, the first option, of course, was to pay the duty at the time of import and get it cleared. However, when we discussed this option of MOOWR, what came into was when you import the capital goods, you are not supposed to pay the duties and taxes. So it covers everything, even GST. So when you import, no duties to be paid. So in this client's case, where the capital goods value was more than 10 crores, the duty estimated saving was coming to around 3 crores, right? So around 3 crores was the duty saved amount, duty deferred amount, if I corrected. And then when this machine will be removed from the manufacturing unit, which is under the private, under the MOOWR registration, at that time you are supposed to pay the duty if it is sold in the domestic market. If it is exported or sold to any third country, then no duty implications. So first,
Brilliant.
is if I come back to your question, you had asked that how to get started. So you have to think about what is there in your supply chain, whether it is going to, whether the capital goods are going to be imported, whether the raw material, semi-finished goods are going to be imported, what is the quantum of the procurement you are looking at, or even the exports. The second part we looked into this client was lot of raw materials were going to be imported in their scenario. They were going to import the tomato paste. So the tomato paste has a duty of around 55%, including GST, which is a huge amount. Like for a 100 rupee product, you have to pay 55%, 55 rupees around as a tax. So what happened in this client's case, they imported a lot of raw materials. They stocked it because they were not supposed to pay the duty at the time of import. And when they will be import, and when they will be manufacturing the final goods, final product which is manufactured out of the raw material, along with the local procurements as well. At that time, you are supposed to pay the duty, that too without interest, and that too there is no time limit to it. So we thought of, what is the estimated savings which in the financial terms which a manufacturing unit could fetch. And secondly, uh, what are the procedures, what are the complexities, what are compliances. So these are the two aspects majorly which any manufacturing unit should look into if they want to get started with the MOOWR.
Very interesting. So, I mean, you're saying that when you import raw material, you don't pay import duty, and when you send it out, that's when you pay the differential amount. So, which means that more or less you are getting everything for free in terms of the taxes and duties. Get the stuff manufactured, send out without worrying anything, and only after you make money you pay some amount. This is brilliant, right?
Exactly. You have summed it well that only when you make money, only when you sell the product. Again, if that final product is going to be exported, no duties because the entire supply chain becomes then the tax efficient. When you are selling in the domestic market, only then you are supposed to pay the duty, and that too without interest.
Wow, very interesting. Um, so in terms of other compliance, the moment I'll tell you why I'm asking this. The genesis is that the moment you say import export, people think that there is so much of legal tangle in this. So what are the new provisions in MOOWR that will reduce this legal tangle? I mean, is there something that you have not spoken about?
So as in earlier, this scheme is completely new. So as in there are one or two things which eases up. Say, for
Okay.
example, if you are into regular import of raw materials and if you compare with the other schemes available under the foreign trade policy, for every transaction you need to comply with, you need to obtain advance authorization for for a couple of transaction for a estimated raw material which you are going to import in another 6 months, 8 months, whatever you can estimate. And here in this case, the registration of the premises for one time is sufficient. And
Hmm.
whatever you import, may it be raw material, capital goods, you need not go to the department again and again to get the new license every time. So that is the biggest relief because that gives a lot of flexibility to the manufacturer in terms of planning of the raw material import or capital goods. So otherwise, what would happen is the capital goods and the raw materials, whatever you are going to import, you have to wait for the license to come first, and then you will, get the license, and then things will happen and fall in place.
Brilliant. Great points, Meenal. So now, say I take a permission for a certain amount under the mover scheme, and then I realize that, you know, I may be beating my own limits. So how easy or difficult is it for me to increase my limits so I don't stop? And what kind of timeline am I looking at if I need to make such amends?
So, this question I ask answer in two parts. First of all, when you are estimating value of the registration of the license which you are going to obtain from the customs department, it is always better to get it on a higher side. Okay, so in the example which I discussed about, in that case, what we did, we were thinking of that, okay, 3 to 4 crores would be sufficient. But then we thought that, okay, let us add 1 more crore such that there is a buffer of sufficient amount and we don't have to go for amendment again and again. Because there
Okay.
is again no time limit attached to it that, okay, you have to get renewed or get everything done within 1 or 2 years and then again you have to go for the amendment. It's not like that. So, as much as possible, as much you can estimate, go on a little higher side and get the license accordingly. Still, after 3 4 years, if you get exhausted, then amendment is of course very much possible. However, it takes time to get the license amendment.
Okay.
Approximate timeline depends on the department and the officer, but working days, if I talk about, it could be 15 to 20 working days.
Hmm.
And again, there are a lot of formalities and the documentation. We have to do it. But yes, that is quite possible.
Excellent. Excellent. I think this is a great opportunity for people in the manufacturing sector. I mean, so much of tax incentive, so much of import incentive, and there's no reason why people should not even use this.
Yeah, correct.
Super. Thank you. And any other closing comments before we stop this
Yeah, so
webinar?
I think what a manufacturer should think about is how and what is the estimation of their import of capital goods and the raw materials. And I think that could be the starting point of the thought process, and put things on paper, like derive numbers, work around the numbers. And also, this could be a very good business strategy as well. I'll tell you why.
Mhm.
This happened with our client only. They never estimated that, okay, this raw material final product which they are going to make, from raw material to final product, they are going to export it. But what happened, because of these cost efficiencies and all, uh, they were having some inquiries in the international market, and they thought, okay, let's try. There's no harm in trying. And what happened was the most interesting thing, and which blew our minds and the promoters' minds as well, that they became so competitive in terms of pricing that they were able to give good pricing, and they bagged a very big export order in Egypt.
Okay.
So this could open up new business opportunities as well, which you have not thought of. So
Right.
with MOOWR, you can play with a lot of flexibility and, business ideas. That's it from me.
Yeah. I think, yeah, that's true with every legislation. Every legislation is brought on with a certain goal in mind, but it's the market that develops it, makes it more robust, and probably will amend the law to make sure that we don't go overdo things, or we do things the right way.
Yeah,
Great. Let's look forward to more and more of Mover helping India to become a manufacturing hub. And thanks so much for your time on this call.
yeah. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.